Hello, 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 amazing people. Listen, 2020 is coming to an end. And listen, you may be excited about it, but what I'm excited about is today's conversation. So, welcome to FinServe Now. I am your host, Zakia Larry. Now, we have given you tools and experts to chat with this entire series. Now, this may be the end of the series for this year, but please understand that we have more coming for you in 2021. I'll tell you about that later. But let's talk about today, okay? Here's what's unique about today, because we know the national sentiments have been talking a lot about diversity and inclusion and what that means. And some people are saying, yeah, but I got a business to run. And so today's topic is profit versus inclusion. Profit versus inclusion, 2021 and beyond. So today, hang in here, and also please share this and invite other folks on to make sure they sign up, because we're going to be talking about the business case for inclusion and unpacking what that really means and how you can move your company forward in this precarious time, but also make sure you're supporting your bottom line. Some heavy lifting, but guess what? We don't have to do any of that heavy lifting alone, because I am so pleased to announce that we have not only the co-founder of the Council for Inclusion in Financial Services, but also the COO of VRM Mortgage Services, Dr. Cheryl Travis-Johnson. So if you will join us, Dr. Johnson. And so, as she's coming on, guys, Cheryl, welcome, by the way.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Oh my gosh, we are so excited to have you here. So, Dr. Cheryl, I love saying that. Such a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant person. I want to set some context for our audience here, because while I've already said focus is on inclusion in so many areas of society, but the day-to-day reality is they've got businesses, they've got families, they have a bottom line to meet and exceed. So today, Cheryl, I'd love for you to help unpack how can they exceed those business goals while not being overwhelmed by this idea and also wave in the D&I space, even if they don't have the development to navigate it. And how do you make the business case? And then lastly, what's next for CIFS? Because we have some amazing things happening in 2021. So, Dr. Cheryl, I want to just jump in with the first question here. Diversity and inclusion is at the forefront. We just said that, right? What do you say to professionals who feel overwhelmed by the topic, or the ones who say, you know what, this doesn't really apply to me?
That's a good question. It always applies unless you only intend on getting one type of customer. So it's very important to have a diverse mix in your staff and the ability, not just in gender or race, which is generally what people think of when we talk about D&I, but also it's very important the diversity of thought. When you have a diverse mix of people working in your organization, they're going to help you identify what's important to the diverse mix of clients that you're trying to reach. You don't want to have just one client type. You want to be able to reach all. That's how you grow your business. So you have to be intentional about how to do that. And you want to get to a point where it's not an extra effort. It should be a norming part of your business practices to reach a diverse customer base and also a diverse workforce, because you want to have the best of the best that's going to attract all customers. And how you do that is making sure that you have a diverse mix of people in your organization so that they can help you reach those diverse customers.
So I love that, because what I hear you saying is that people respond to where they're represented. And so if our vendors here, if our professionals here want to expand their company, expand their customer base, then their staff and team can and should reflect the people they're going after. Am I understanding that?
Yeah, let me give you an example of what this looks like. Let's say, for example, a mom and her daughter go in to buy her car for her 16th birthday. And the salesman says, why don't we wait until your husband gets here before you make a decision?
Ah.
By not understanding how to deal with a female purchaser, he may have lost his customer, because as a woman, you and I would both be offended by that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so, but a lot of his intentions may have been well, but impact was not. And that's the thing. By not having a workforce that's diverse, if he had more females around him, he probably wouldn't have made that decision. So you also learn how to reach your customers by having a workforce that looks like your customer base. It teaches you how to be more effective, because you know that you couldn't say that to your coworker, so you're not going to say it to your customer.
Right, right. So, Cheryl, one of the things you're illuminating too is when people hear diversity and inclusion, and especially what's happening in our nation with discord, division, and unrest, we're coming on the heels of protests, etc. We think in terms literally of black and white. However, Cheryl, with the work that you've been doing and the work that the CIF is doing, you've expanded our minds with the definition of diversity. Will you unpack that for us?
Yeah, and actually, it was a term that was really coined by a female attorney in trying to get people to understand diversity. But one of the ways I describe it to get people to understand is it's diversity is being invited to the dance. Inclusion is being asked to dance. Multiculturalism is having a dance floor big enough for everybody to dance. And one thing is very important, and a lot of emphasis is on diversity and inclusion, but the end goal is multiculturalism, and that is only achieved when everybody has access to the economic benefits and the wealth management concepts and tools equally. And we don't have that today, which is why we have so much social unrest amongst Black and brown communities, because we don't have that. So we'll know when we achieve multiculturalism, everybody will have access to all the economic benefits that are available to the citizens of any country, no matter where.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. And that's incredibly helpful. And I love the example that you gave earlier about certain statements being made to women, or where's your husband? And that could turn that customer off. So it's not just ethnicity,
Right.
but also, your background, your thought processes, your experience and culture. And that's not always tied to race, gender, and identity. So that's really incredible to know. And I think that really helps us, broaden our horizons here.
Well, another example of that would be also, just to give a different perspective, when a white male walks into a bank and needs some assistance or help, the assumption is made that he has a higher income and he might need help, different kind of help, but isn't extended the offer of affordable tools because there's an assumption that he doesn't need them. So that can happen. That lack of those biases can carry over to even the majority. It's not just about color and gender.
Wow. I love that. I love that. And thank you for helping us to navigate that as well, because that's checking our unconscious bias as well. And I think that's incredibly important. So guys, we have Dr. Cheryl Travis-Johnson here. So if you have questions, please drop them in the chat box and I'll make sure to weave them into our conversation here. And guess what? I mean, obviously, incredible mind on the VRM side, on the CIFS side. So when you are able to just have this audience here, guys, let's maximize it. Drop your questions. Let's chat away as we round out 2020 here. So Cheryl, I have a question. In what ways do you think financial services professionals can support and benefit from the current laser focus of diversity and inclusion? Now, you said obviously they can benefit by having a team that reflects their ideal customer base, but how can they also support diversity and inclusion as an ideal in our nation?
Well, one of the main things that we can do is increase the number of women and minorities at the decision table.
Okay.
You want to make sure you have millennials. You want to really have a balance of people at the decision table. With diversity in thought, you close the gap of understanding about what people need from your services. The financial services companies that exercise a diverse workforce will attract a more diverse mix of clients. So people like seeing themselves where they spend their money. I know I do. And because that says that you have an employee diverse workforce that can practice inclusive behavior when dealing with clientele, because that's what the workforce course, represents. So it's very important if you want clients to see that your services are for them as well, then they need to see themselves as a part of your business and your advertising and your when they walk into, I mean, just imagine if you walked into a branch of a bank and, you know, there were nothing but, you know, white males over 50 or white females over 50. It might not attract some millennials to want to do business there because they don't think that you have them in mind, or it may turn some of your diverse communities away. So you really want to make sure that your business is reflective of the community that you serve and the people that you're trying to attract.
Very interesting, very interesting. So I always believe that people buy into an idea, a movement, when they benefit from it, when they see the clear benefit, the clear ROI, but also when they know the folks who are out front championing it. And so let's unpack a little bit about Dr. Cheryl here. What has inspired you to be on the forefront of driving diversity and inclusion, specifically in our financial services industry?
Well, I grew up in this industry. I started working in the financial services industry right out of high school. I was a scholarship recipient and received a job as part of the winning the award. And my mom was also a leader in the financial service industry, so I was also kind of following her as well. Nice. And one of the things that she taught me was to show up as if you're already in the next position you're trying to reach. So wherever you are, you should be performing at that next level so people see you there before you get there. And being a woman and a minority, I found that I had to be twice as good. I found that I had to fight a little harder to make that next move. And then I also found myself in positions where I was basically training my boss, constantly in positions where I was training my boss. And some very wise older white man helped me when I was younger. He said to me, "Your problem is you give away your secret sauce. So there's no reason for people to bring you along." He says, "Always tie yourself to your ideas. They shouldn't be able to happen without you. And that's how you move up." He says, "People like to win. So tie yourself to your ideas. And that's how you win." And I started doing that, and I saw myself growing within the industry because they couldn't get it done without me. And so I'd have an idea, and I wouldn't give away the secret sauce. And I need to go along with the idea in order for it to work. And it really helped me move up in my career.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you for sharing that, because I have a follow-up question. And remember, please drop your questions in the chat box. So Cheryl, tie yourself to your idea. This isn't necessarily about diversity and inclusion, but remember, guys, when you sit at the feet of our FinServe leaders here, we get into it. So tie yourself to your project so that it can't be done without you. What does that look like? How do we do that as professionals on this call?
Well, a lot of people have some really great ideas, and then and women, I'm going to pick on you a little bit. We have the tendency to overshare. And that's why we'll put an idea out and we'll see what our male counterparts will make it happen. So we need to do less talking and more applying. So you have an idea. Let's say, for example, I'll give you one example of my story. I was working with the company, and I had a dual major in college, a computer science and pre-law. And so what I did was I created this program to automate the origination process for a secured line of credit. And so it pre-qualified based on certain parameters. And I created the program back then. This is how old I'm dating myself, but these were the days of, Fortran, Basic, and COBOL back in those days. So I created this program, and I didn't share. I did it at home. I created the program at home. So I had the program at home, and then I tested it at work, and found that it worked. So they said, "Well, how did you do that?" So they sent in the IT team. They want to know how I did the program. I said, so I said that as long as the idea stays with me, like I want to make sure that I'm on the team that's building this out, and then I'll share it with you. But I need to be on the team, and I need to document it that this came from me. And what it netted me was $100,000 bonus for my idea. Wow. And I got promoted behind doing it. And I was actually on maternity leave when they promoted me.
Wow.
So just to give you a sense of, so you tie yourself, you do something, you keep your idea to yourself until you know it works, one, and you figure out how to apply it and how to apply yourself as part of the solution. Because one great thing about an idea is yours. You don't have to share it. So it's one thing that can't be stolen. You can only give it away.
Wow. Cannot be stolen. You can only give it away. That is incredible advice. Incredible advice. And you know, that really applies. And I resonate with that because in so many things, ideas is what I do. That's literally my bread and butter. And so being a strategic thinker, being in strategic communications, I'm an idea factory. And I've experienced exactly what you're saying, Cheryl. I'll come in and I'll give the idea, and then the organization goes off and implements with the internal team when they were initially wanting to bring me on for consulting and implementation. And so I think that a lot of women might have this story in some way, because I think we also want to prove ourselves. And by proving, we think proving ourselves means oversharing and giving away, instead of standing in our experience and who we are and what we've already done. Absolutely. So yeah, thank you for stepping on my toes there. I'm pretty sure a lot of folks are saying ouch, but we definitely needed that. So be sure to drop your questions in the box here, guys. This is so good. So I'm going to shift a little bit and talk about bottom line. We've got business owners here. It's the holidays, we're spending, or in a precarious scenario because of COVID, right? So thinking of the bottom line, of course, the CIFS champions diversity and inclusion, but there are ways in which the CIFS is intentional with helping businesses to grow. Will you tell me a little bit about the passion behind that and what some opportunities are for our audience here?
The key thing is, the passion is to individual wealth. We want to see wealth management tools be made available to all. A lot of people don't find out about financial services products until they're well after they graduate from college. They go all the way through college without any lessons around how to manage your finances. First thing, it starts with having a strong credit score, using credit wisely so that you can get credit at a lower rate. That's the first part of building your wealth, is having access to money at a low cost. The second thing is saving for your financial future. Planning. So I use my son as an example. I saved $500,000 from the day he was born until he graduated from high school. He had two choices. If he did everything I told him to do, got a full scholarship, he could have used that money to start his business. Instead, he wanted to do life his way. He got into college off of the SAT scores, but he had a mid B average, when if he had a higher average, he would have got full scholarships versus partial. So his money had to go towards his education. He went to a private Pepperdine University, so that ate up most of his money. He started his business after he graduated from college. He worked for about a year and a half to just kind of get an understanding of business. He started his business, but he had to work a lot harder to get it where it is today, because he didn't have the financial tools readily available. Most people, these young people who are starting their own business, their parents were able to give them those dollars to be able to do that. And so it's very important to educate our young people. So how they can help CIFS is to educate their young people about the importance of managing credit, building wealth, having afterlife planning taken care of, so somebody else is not paying for your burial. Having, so many people are using GoFundMe to fund weddings and funerals and education costs. But if you save $100 a month from the day your child is born to up to their 18, you will have enough money to pay for their education, just on pure investment. So that's part of what we need to do, and we need to teach that to our children, pass that on. And another great example, even just in talking with your customers about saving for purchase of a home or whatever they're trying to buy, large purchases. My parents passed away, and they left $100,000 and some change in a checking account, and it had been sitting there for 30 years, earning nothing.
Wow.
And imagine what that money would have done over time. So
Absolutely.
it's just education. The lack of education will lead to that. And then the third thing, getting your children ready for the passing of wealth. So some of us are doing very well, and we're going to pass wealth to another generation. If they don't know what to do with that money, they're going to use it foolishly.
Right.
So you would have worked all your life, pass all this money on to your child, and they lose it all. So it's really, really, really important. And I think one of the good examples of that was the Black guy who owned the chain of all the different what was it called? I can't remember the name of the services, but he left his son, who used to play on the Bill Cosby show with the little glasses that flipped.
Oh, yes, yes,
He-
yes, yes, yes.
He was left billions of dollars from his dad, and he lost it in 6 months.
Whoa.
He lost it in 6 months because he didn't know. People stole from him, had bad accounts, not having an understanding of how to manage wealth. So
Right.
So what I'm asking for all of you who are interested in being a part of CIFS is take the education and apply it to your customers, share, tell them about that, share it with your families. It's just about, LeBron James just opened up a wealth management center for underserved communities. And those are the kinds of things that we need to do. It doesn't just have to be CIFS. We can take these efforts around the world. So it doesn't just need to be us, but if everybody's applying that kind of thinking to their daily practices, just think how much it will change communities.
And Cheryl, one of the many things I love about the CIFS is that these programs and education have been offered on a regular basis, and I see the action. And so, I'm not here to solicit, but I'm telling you, being a member of CIFS, and I myself having the honor of being on the advisory team, and being able to soak this in, guys, it really is shifting. It really, really helps your business and yourself. So thank you for that. And so I guess, hey, look, if you're not a member of the CIFS, this is the time. This is the time, folks. This is the time, because literally this is passion in action, and it helps you in your business. And so, speaking of helping people in their business, Cheryl, we have a question from the audience. And this is good because it brings diversity in, it brings standing in your truth in. The question: how does a millennial get their voice heard in a room full of the older generation?
Very good question. And so sometimes you got to be creative. Let's say, for example, if you're in a live meeting, one of the things you could do is get your question into the senior leadership before the meeting. Say, I really would like to, I have an idea. So get one-on-one with the key decision maker and say, I have a really good idea. I would like to share. I know that, I don't have as much seniority as some other people in the room, but I want to make sure I get an opportunity to speak. Can you add me to the agenda so that I can get an opportunity to share some ideas I have? I think it'll really help the company in its current efforts and whatever they're working on. So that's one way to do it. Find the key decision maker and get your voice to that key decision maker. Or even if your leader, your direct manager has an opportunity to say, you know what, I'm going to let them talk today. Ask them if they give you a chance to get the floor. So be creative about getting an opportunity to get the floor.
Wow, I love it. And it's also strategic, and it also gets you noticed and in front of the senior leadership without jumping up and down and saying, hey, look at me, but also initiative. I love that. That covers several different areas. So thank you so much for that question from the audience there, Cheryl. And so let me pivot, because I'd like to address the elephant in the room. And I think all of us have heard it in some kind of way, that diversity and inclusion, I just don't feel like I hear you, I don't feel like it's for me. And Cheryl, I think you started to clear that up for us by defining what diversity can look like and what it means. It's not just race, folks. But, let's just say there's someone saying the core cause of the CIFS sounds amazing, but I need to make money and scale my business. What about my immediate needs here? What does all this have to do with my immediate need?
if you really want to make money, then you need to increase your customer base, correct? So if you want to increase your customer base, you have to be intentional about attracting a diverse mix of customers. That's how you grow your business. And one of the things you can do, if you can't hire for diversity, you can do other things. You can participate and you can let your brand be seen doing philanthropic things in communities so that people remember, hey, I remember that broker that they were at the, they were out feeding homeless people. I'm going to go do business with them. So philanthropy is another way to show people that you care about them and they matter to you. So I would say exercise, philanthropy wherever you can, and it's a very good way to grow to get your brand recognized and to grow your business. A good example would be like Bamba and the socks and the shoemaker of Tom. So every time you buy a pair, they donate a pair, and so people like buying from them because they know they're helping somebody in the process. So that's another way to do it, is by having things that allow you to do philanthropy as part of your business. Another effective thing is, if you buy a home from me, I'll make a donation to your favorite charity. We'll make if you do business with me, we'll make a donation to your favorite charity. People like stuff like that. Wow. So those are things that you can do that can outreach toward diversity without hiring for it.
Ooh, I love all of those ideas. I love that you made it specific too, because we have a lot of incredible mortgage and real estate professionals on today. So I would like to just add from a public relations perspective that also touching on your idea here, Cheryl, partnerships are key. It's about alignment as well. And so one of the things I enjoyed with the CIFS was the financial series as well as networking. It's a lot of learning, and then you get to connect with people to make it happen within your business. Now, of course, COVID has changed anything in person, but understand as programming is rolled out, especially throughout 2021 like this, educating the community with CIFS, this is an opportunity to say, hey, what if I co-present this month's educational series with the CIFS? And so Cheryl, I gotta be the PR person here, and I'm gonna plug your ears. But for you, audience, what this does is it aligns you from a visibility perspective with a very known, active, prestigious organization, but also it's about doing good and leading well, and you get both, right? So Cheryl, sorry, I didn't mean for you to hear that I'm teaching people to piggyback off your visibility. But I think that, that's a really relevant question because it's a total package. It's an ecosystem, especially when people are looking to, survive and thrive during these times here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks for not muting my mic when I gave away that little tidbit. I really appreciate that. So Cheryl, as we land the plane here, I know you have some amazing ideas for 2021, but 2020 was a really interesting year, not just for the CIFS, but also with your leadership with VRM. And so are there a couple of highlights you can share with us about what 2020 looked like and maybe a little bit of forecasting about what we can look forward to in 2021?
Well, 2020 really was it was really highlighted around education, the monthly series that you've done so well working with us on and helping us do that outreach and education. So we will continue to do that going into 2021. And the other focus we're going to continue with is helping small businesses grow their business by getting information to them that is not normally available, particularly around automation, the use of robotics and other things like that can help them get better margins on business by not having to use human resources where they can automate. So we want to continue to do that, help them understand how to get better access to government business, which can be pretty challenging. So that was a focus for 2020, and want to continue that focus for 2021. It's ever changing as administration changes over, the goals change and processes change because people change. So we definitely will continue that education. I think that's an ongoing factor that has to continue. And for 2020, just in terms of seeing how the businesses were hit so hard byproduct of the pandemic, it has changed the way we have to look at growing our business, and looking and making sure that you have a diverse mix of business, because a lot of businesses are out of business because they didn't have a diverse mix, or they didn't have a solution for how to do business in a changing world like now. So the companies that are growing are your all your social media type companies and of that nature, versus businesses that are local businesses were hurt because of the lack of diverse mix and ability to do other things in the midst of something like this. So I think hopefully everybody learned a little bit about how to do business differently, and hopefully we shared enough data for 2020 that help you do that. And so we will put a lot of focus on diversifying your business, partnering for growth, and that type of thing for 2021, because I think it's really important to partner for growth. My son has a great business model where he does that. And so he did very well during the pandemic because of it, because he made sure he had a diverse mix of services that he was offering. So the demand for the Google Analytics became really high for marketing versus print ads. So he had an ability to do both. And so, you know, you've got to figure out a way to maintain that diverse mix. So we want to continue that education process throughout 2021. And that which is the Shift 2021, which is our theme for next year, because there's going to be a lot of shifting necessary. There's going to be opportunity for new business because, you know, once the moratoriums are lifted, the market's going to be saturated with the need for prop press vendors and real estate professionals and loan originators. As you can see right now, you can't hardly find an MLO. Loan originators are high demand because rates are low. Having a diverse mix of your business, so when you're not selling REO, you could be originating for new home purchases. If you have an office that has a loan originator and a real estate broker who partner together, there's a group called Teams where there's a real estate company, a loan originations company, a title settlement services company. They link together to create this group called Teams. And once you start your transaction with them, they pre-approve you all the way through the buying process with that one team. So, you know, things like that, looking for that kind of shift for 2021.
Wow. Thank you for those resources. Guys, do you see what I mean? Oh my gosh, this is the room you get stuff in. And Cheryl, I love that you pointed out that our theme for 2021 is shift. And I just love to put it on everyone's minds and everyone's calendars, guys. Speaking of shift, so the FinServe Expo is coming up. The theme is shift 2021. What's the FinServe Expo? Well, it's the premier annual conference for FinServe Expo, for the financial services community and industry to connect, innovate, and grow. And so 2021, June 22nd and June 23rd. Please put that on your calendar. June 22nd, June 23rd. Theme is shift, and that's the FinServe Expo. And at the end of the day, we are breaking this up into some categories here. Diversity and inclusion with an exploration of social issues. Let's talk about it. But also focusing on business and best practices, how to pivot, and then also innovative technology. Cheryl, you just shared that the folks who are thriving were ahead of the curve with their technology. And so we'll be unpacking all of that June 22nd and 23rd. And so for more information, to even register, because early registration is open, or to check out how to become a sponsor, that's on the page too, you can just hop on councilforinclusion.org, councilforinclusion.org, and at the top, amazing, beautiful banner for Shift 2021, and you can jump in there and take a look at what's going to happen at this upcoming year's virtual conference. So we're really excited about that. And Cheryl, I think we may be able to hear from you during our conference as well. We love, love, love when you show up and drop those nuggets on us.
I'll be there for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, guys, you have been so amazing. And Cheryl, as we close out here, do you have any just final words you want to give to our audience, be it for their business or around the holidays, best practices, just any closing words here?
just recognize that having a diverse business concept that leads to identifying or attracting a diverse mix of customers is an economic benefit, because you're able to extend your business, grow your brand, and grow your clientele. I mean, which is everybody's goal, right? And so that's one thing. And then also make sure you share good wealth management practices with the young. Wherever you go, speak at high schools, just share those practices. If we start doing that, the younger generation the economy will be a lot stronger. There will be Social Security benefits for the old, but really, in all sincerity, really share the importance of building good credit and saving for planning for your future. Just start that early. If you can do that for as many young people as possible, you make a significant difference in their lives.
Wow. Cheryl, thank you so much for joining us today. It was such a pleasure. And we will definitely see you soon in all of our programming with 2021. And don't forget, amazing, amazing comrades here. Third Tuesday of every month, we will continue leading up to June 22nd and 23rd. So make sure you're still coming back and enjoying these virtual sessions here. And then also, you can send a suggestion for FinServe Now, even if you want to nominate yourself. So the best way to do that, councilforinclusion.org/FinServe-now. councilforinclusion.org/FinServe-now. Thank you again to our fearless leader and visionary here, Dr. Cheryl Travis-Johnson. And to you, my good friends, have a happy holiday. We will see you next month.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Bye.